So we hit a milestone here, and I know that some of you guys just come for like the movie list, and if that's the case, boom, right here. I understand that your guys' time is precious, so definitely go just watch the parts that you want. But it's because of that I have to take a little time for those of you who do take time to say thank you. I say this all the time on the weekly live streams, especially those that are archived on Patreon. But I wanted to put it here on a permanent video, on the monthly video, and that's just to say a simple thank you. The A to Z show reached 200,000 subscribers, which is wild. It's crazy. It's insane. We had reached the 100,000. I was super thankful. Put it up there. That's thanks to you guys, those of you who watch all the videos. And then it's also Let Me Explain, which is the second channel. They hit 50,000, and it's like at 60,000 now. And I just literally just want to say thank you to you guys, right? Because, some of you, maybe I'm not that guy for you. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe my videos don't mean that much. That's completely fine. But if there is that creator out there who you appreciate, it may seem benign. It may seem like nothing. But definitely go tweet them, Facebook them, write them a letter, send them a pigeon, whatever you got to do, and let them know that you do appreciate the videos that they make, the art that they make, the sculptures, whatever it is. Whoever you appreciate the work that they're doing, a simple, hey, I like your stuff, goes a long way. And anytime that I get those messages, it truly means a lot. And it may be so simple, but that's exactly why I want to say back and give you guys that simple but like seriously sentimental thank you. This channel wouldn't be anything if you guys weren't watching it. And literally the best way that I also feel I can say thank you is just to continue making stuff. That's why I have right here, which you can see as the A to Z Trinity. So some people I know it was confusing at first, and other people have gotten it. Some people prefer one over the other, but simply put, the A to Z show has always been the main channel. It's where, I watch a movie or an album or a TV show, and I make a weekly video about what I learned from it, my personal experiences from it. And because of that, I wasn't able to cover everything, and that's where I decided to make the Let Me Explain channel. And Let Me Explain just freaking took off, and that channel was pretty much, it is where it's my movie diary. It's nothing very serious. I just go through the movies, explain it, full spoilers, a little commentary track with it. And some people have been wanting me to do one for music, and that's what Hear Me Out is, right? So to some people I know may be like, oh, that's too many channels, but I mean, it's worked. The fact that some people just want to hear a specific perspective. They don't care about the music. They just want the movies. Some people don't like the A to Z style of getting too deep into it. They just want the nitty gritty, just the basics of it. But to me, it's just always been, again, the best way to say thank you is just to create content. And that's what these three are. It's me just trying to create more content for you. I know some people have said, just put it all in one channel. I mean, it's the same thing. If you subscribe to all three, you will get all of them in your feed whenever YouTube decides to put them there. But for those of you who have been following since the beginning, I truly appreciate you. I also want to show the patrons here who have supported me, and I've pitched these ideas to them, and they've been on board. They've been with me since I've been ASAP rocking it, just trying to test things out. I may not know always, the route that I'm going to go. I'm just testing something out, but it's pretty much become this. The A to Z show is where I make that weekly video on a movie, on an album, and just talk about what I learned from it, my own personal experiences. Every week being able to get your guys' input on a Twitter video. Let Me Explain just being those fun little dumb explained in minutes videos. Hear Me Out is going to be just like going through track lists, my favorite bars and stuff. But the patrons have been there because they've supported me, and that to me is like the wildest thing in the world. They just believed in me, and you guys are the ones who have made it worth it. For those of you who just comment, view, like every single video, for those of you who share it, even if you can't give that $1 a month, those of you who share a video, that helps the channel tremendously. So if you've never heard me say it before, I just want to say it that I appreciate you guys, and you guys are what makes this whole channel worth it. But the movies, I know some of you they didn't care about that. You guys just want to know about the movies, and that's what this is. I've created a whole playlist for it. This is the monthly wrap up where I lead up and pretty much go through everything that I've watched. I watch a lot of movies, don't always make a video for all of them, but I figured this would be like the perfect place to just cover all the movies at once and maybe show you guys some movies that you haven't seen, lead up to my must-watches of the month. But the reason that I cover everything in the must-watch is because even though something may not be my favorite, maybe you've never heard of it, gets your attention, and it becomes like your freaking favorite movie of the year. But like I said, I got everything timestamped down below. You can definitely jump to whatever you want, just to the must-watches or any of that stuff. But like I said, I cover everything because you never know what may be your favorite. So for those of you guys who have seen this, you kind of know how it goes. Pretty much I split it into 3 parts, which is the streamits, which are just like the movies you watch at home. They're okay. The rentage junior prices, the ones that are worth watching in that matinee, worth spending the money at the Redbox code. And then my must watches. This is the streamits, and Show Dogs was the first one, right? Show Dogs was that one movie that people were saying is so bad it's good. This one right here, the 15-17 to Paris, that's still my so bad it's good movie. I made a video on that. This one was on my radar because people were flipping out on the fact that it like said sexual harassment was okay. There's a specific scene in this film that caused it to be pulled from some theaters, and it's wild. It's about show dogs. It's a world in where Will Arnett and a detective dog have to work together to stop a panda. Yeah, in my opinion, this may be somebody's so bad it's good movie, so I definitely say check it out for that. But if you want to deal with a Will Arnett product that also deals with talking animals, you got to go see BoJack Horseman.
Get ready for the wildlife.
I'm older, I'm wiser. This, essentially a Google. Ask me anything.
Turn off your Google. You're scaring me.
I think my Google scared Jack last night.
Oh my God.
The one thing I'd give this one is the twist. Life of the Party is just another one of Melissa McCarthy's movies where I don't think she's bad. I actually do like her. I think she can be funny. I don't like when she really relies on the dumb jokes, on her fat jokes, on working with her husband. I'm all for marriage. Y'all just are not good at working with each other when he's the director. And this one where she goes back to school to finish her degree after she gets into a divorce and she ends up becoming like roommates with her daughter. They're going on like one night stands together. There's some funny parts. Maya Rudolph is hilarious. Gillian Jacobs, I love her. She's fantastic. But there are certain points in this movie where it's just like, man, this is draining the party for me. I think that anyone who's like a fan of The Other Woman, my mom is, guilty pleasures like those, you may like this movie. And the one thing that I would give it is that this actually has one of the best twists of 2018. A twist that I didn't see coming. A twist that maybe falls apart the more that you think about it. But it worked when I first watched it. Now, Toni Collette is the best mom of 2018, performance-wise. She is the best one in Hereditary. Gabrielle Union she is the hottest mom of 2018, along with the like 45 moms that were in 13 Reasons Why. She is fantastic in this movie when it comes to being the mom who needs to break into her own house to go protect her kids from like a cholo and this other group are trying to steal something from a safe. But as much as she is a standout, and I know some people will love it because she's this fierce mom who's showing you that she can become a freaking superhero, hang from the corner of a wall like she's Batman. The movie's also kind of dumb at points. Maybe it's dumb to the point that some people will enjoy it, but there are scenes in here that just make absolutely no sense.
Watch me now. Hi, honey. How was your first day?
And I said, what? In the morning.
For those of you who have never seen a Eugenio Derbez movie, I always recommend Instructions Not Included. I think that's a very good movie. Then he makes really bad movies. This one's okay. I actually enjoyed this one. This is actually a remake of an older film and where the roles were actually gender swapped, which is completely crazy if you think about that movie coming out in 2018, where it was, I want to say Goldie Hawn. I know it was a female actress who played the very snobby rich person who then gets amnesia and gets kidnapped in the original by a male to go do his chores and everything. Here they gender swap it, so it's Anna Faris who gets like dissed by the super rich trust fund guy. He ain't a kid, he's way too old to be that. And pretty much the moment he gets amnesia, she takes advantage of that, says that that's her husband, takes advantage of him. I think that there are some cute aspects of this movie. Obviously, it's going to be very cheesy and too cliche for a lot of people. Personally, I will say that there is a scene dealing with a little girl on a bike who he taught to ride that bike, and well, someone was crying in my theater, not me.
He's gonna kill us. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna get you out of here.
I didn't even know this was a thing. This is a movie called Bad Samaritan that stars one of the Doctor Who doctors, and it's pretty much he's playing this douchebag who goes to a restaurant, he gives his keys to the valets, and the valets, as I've been saying, never leave your car with a valet, especially if you got your GPS in there, because they just gotta push home, they get to your house, and they rob everything you have, including the freaking girl you got tied up like it's 50 Shades. This is definitely that TNT movie, that FX movie that you catch like late at night and you just go, hey, this looks interesting, because this guy is a thief, but now he needs to become a good Samaritan. And while there is a lot of dumb stuff that happens in the movie, it's very forgettable. I almost forgot to put it on this list. Sometimes that's just something you want on a weekday.
Wow.
If you're a fan of Margot Robbie, I don't see how this movie isn't on your list. It's Terminal takes place in the future, but it's got a very interesting aesthetic because it also mostly takes place in a 50s looking diner, and Margot Robbie's there looking like a sexy waitress, and she's dealing with assassins and a retired teacher, a weird janitor. But I'm not gonna spoil this movie for you other than the fact that this movie has 3 endings. The first ending has you going, oh, okay, you never gave me that, but oh, you're just gonna show it all to me now. Then it ends again and you're like, oh, okay, this seemed a little unnecessary. Then it ends again and you're like, alright, that's what we're doing.
Is it?
I had caught a couple of movies at the Chicago Critics Film Festival, so some of these are going to be sprinkled in through here. I'll have them stamped to tell you which ones are which as my coverage, but one of the first ones that I caught was on Cecil Beach, which, if you know your girl, Saoirse Ronan, she comes out whenever it's Oscar time, whenever it's time to get that nomination. This ain't the one, though. Pretty much this movie is the wedding day. They're about to get married, and, well, they are married. They're in the room. They're about to get jiggy with it, and as they're getting jiggy with it, my man goes to reach for her arm in what is the longest foreplay you'll ever see in a movie, and the moment he touches her hand, you get the flashback to the first time they touched her hand. You know, the next time that he's going for, her panties, you get to the first time that he tried to do it with her. It's like this Slumdog Millionaire thing that's happening as they're trying to get it on for the first time. Does it drag a bit? Yes. But it does have a really interesting ending. One that I thought was, I can't really say cute, kind of sad, but it worked. Even if the movie does drag a very long time just for them to get it on. Cargo is that Netflix movie that you can actually catch on YouTube. It's based off of a short film, and that's free on YouTube. Most of you do. You're bumming off of somebody else's Netflix, so you'll probably catch it there too. I think it's an okay zombie flick. It's definitely going from the perspective of the more emotional route, and where the virus, they leave clues for the virus, but that isn't really the main thing. It's the cargo, the kid that Martin Freeman has that he's trying to keep safe, and it's a good movie. I think it works better as a short, which ironically it already is on YouTube. Support the Girls is another one of the Critics Film Fest that I caught, and look, I'll say this, one of the best visual effects out there, one of the most visually appealing. Haley Lou Richards, if you have not seen Columbus, and to not make me sound so sexist and machismo, I think she's okay in this movie, but they have her playing like this Hooters chick. I like her in movies like Columbus and Edge of 17. That's my celebrity crush at the moment. She is fantastic. In this movie, it is that Hooters setting, that tilted kilt, Twin Peaks setting of this bar that Regina Hall is running, and pretty much just everything that can go wrong goes wrong. And that is the entirety of the movie. It's a good flick. When it comes to, I don't know, if you're a manager and you can relate to it. Other than that, Haley Lou Richardson is in it. But to wrap up this section, there are 2 shorts from the festival that I do want to highlight. One of them is a local short film called Runner, which is written, I believe, directed, and stars the main lead, who is this female who's running. She comes across this alleyway where the guy is in an argument with his girlfriend or his wife, kind of smacks her. She's now a witness to a death. She gotta run, and it's a short film, so I can't spoil the whole thing, but maybe there's a deeper connection to this guy that she won't be able to outrun. I'll probably have it updated down below once it comes online, once it's done with the film festival, but I highly recommend that one, as well as a short called Good Choice. This is freaking insane. This is a short film that actually has a stacked cast. This clearly has money into it. And the first time I saw it, I was like, alright, this is okay. It's about this Red Lobster commercial where the actors are trapped inside of the VHS tape and they just keep getting played over and over in this ad. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, okay, this is interesting concept. The second time I saw it, and the more I thought about it, This thing is freaking genius. Alright, so now are the rented junior prices. These are the ones that I do think are worth like spending money. These are the ones that I recommend watching once. They're not the must watches, but they're all pretty solid films. And the first one being Shotgun, another Chicago Critics Film Fest. Shotgun, obviously relating to when you get married, yeah, that shotgun wedding. Those of you who know how much I love A Walk to Remember, this is the complete opposite. This is the guy who's terminally ill. He has cancer, and he has just met this girl, Micah Monroe. Ironically, I had mentioned how she reminds me a lot of Mia Malkova. Her name in this movie is Mia. Now, while I do recommend it, I think it's just enough that instead of streaming it at home, it is worth going out to rent. It is a depressing rent. It's depressing because obviously you're dealing with cancer and you're dealing with like a raw relationship of two people who may have come together just out of pity, but I think the performances and just the way that it goes through the story, I think is enough to be worth it. I had missed Leave No Trail at Sundance, and if you know me, if you have heard me mention this, I'm okay with seeing a bad movie, right? I am not okay with going all the way to Salt Lake City or anywhere and coming back and reading articles about a movie I missed. Let it be bad. I don't want to miss a movie. And this was the one that kept appearing in a bunch of articles talking about how it was one of the best of the fest. A lot of people had said it's a better version of Captain Fantastic because it is the director of Winter's Bone who's directing this story about a father and daughter who live out like in the woods, in the forest. They don't believe in like living with the rest of society. They just want to be on their own. And you have a bunch of conflicting things, not only with other people trying to find them, authorities trying to find them, but also between the father and the daughter and how they oppose themselves. And I think it was a good movie. I didn't love it as much as I was hoping for, but if there's one thing that is a huge standout for me is that in Winter's Bone, that's where we got, you know, your girl J-Law, and now she's a huge star. I don't want this girl, Thomasin McKenzie, this actress, to be like J-Law, but I definitely do think that the director of this movie has a knack for finding upcoming stars, and Thomasin McKenzie is definitely that.
We're going to finish the job we started. You didn't know that I'm a ninja. While I am state-of-the-art, I am not a ninja.
This one deserves that matinee prize. You gotta see this one in theaters. Upgrade, I thought was just going to be dumb fun, and it is dumb fun, but they got some balls on this movie. I mean, just the marketing alone, like the fact that they're willing to just shout out Solo and stuff like that, I thought was hilarious. But this is that movie where Hardy 2.0, as I've considered him, pretty much just takes his own version of Venom with a computer instead. And, you know, as much as I love the movie, I think the choreography is fantastic. I think the story, the ending is very ballsy. The biggest gripe that I have with it is just that the actor, and this isn't, you know, this is how I know it's not the directing, it's the actor. I've seen him in other stuff like Prometheus and Spider-Man Homecoming. His delivery on lines is, it's like an Amazon Flex worker. It's a little sloppy at times. But to me, the adrenaline that this movie has is fantastic. And just to think that Lee Winehouse has gone from a long way of being tied up to a toilet, I can just imagine what happens when he actually gets like a bigger budget. When Blumhouse doesn't just give him the sticks from Whiplash and the camera from Get Out and tells him to sell that for a budget. If they do a sequel to this movie, it'd be very interesting to see how they upgrade it. I have a whole video for Solo. I guess when it comes to Star Wars movies, I've said this over and over again, one of the most interesting aspects is seeing just the reception that these Star Wars movies get. And this one is super intriguing because even if someone agrees with you, they'll find a way to argue with you. It's crazy. You can definitely go see it in the Solo video that I had. But again, this was a movie that I thought was okay. It's not bad. It's not great, in my opinion. If you love it, if you hate it, you know, more power to you, you're your own person. I hate that Ant-Man effect. I hate the fact that I personally am a huge fan of Lord and Miller, and I see remnants of the movie in there of what could have been, you know, to go the safe route on a rebellious character, someone who's this oddball who you can't guess what they're going to do next. That describes the directors you fired. It's a little upsetting. I wish that version existed out there somewhere, like the Snyder Cut, like that Fantastic Four original cut. I don't know, we'll never see it, but Solo, It's out there. And speaking of Solo, it also is Solo when it comes to box office. I'm not gonna lie, Adrift surprised me. I didn't think it was gonna be anything new. Like a lot of people, you think it's that same old Lost at Sea story. You've seen this done a million times. You don't think it's gonna be anything different. But it is based off of a true story, It's like, just because Coco came out, does that mean that I can't tell my story of being a little Mexican boy who visited the afterlife one summer? Again, it's all about the delivery. And this one surprised me specifically with the visuals, because I'm a sucker for long takes, and I'm also very well aware that they can be gimmicky. But this one goes all out. Like right from the beginning, there's like a 5-minute long take all throughout the boat. There's several throughout, not only when they're like on the dock, but when they're actually lost at sea. But there is this beautiful shot. The reason why I think it's worth watching in theaters, this beautiful shot where they play with the foreground, like the boat. You see them trying to get stuff in the foreground of the shot and the boat, and all you see is like a wave, but it's this long take, and you're focused on them, and it takes you a couple seconds to realize, yo, is that wave building up in the back? They do play with the narrative also, where it's the stranded at sea part is happening, but it also flips to how they got there, little flashbacks, which to some may help that they're not just, going full 45 minutes just lost at sea, but they're getting a little, refreshers throughout. To some people, they're going to see it as a gimmick. Especially that ending.
You don't know what's about to happen.
The Tale is that one movie that you never want to see ever again. Like, you watch it once and that's it. And I had caught this at Sundance. That's exactly what I had said about it. Caught it again now that it's out on HBO. I stand by what I said. It's a deep tale, which it's a wrong way to phrase this, but it pretty much, you follow Laura Dern, who has a fantastic performance in this movie, as she's reminiscing on her past as a kid. It's kind of like the name suggests, a tale, because she's trying to piece together what happened as she was assaulted, as she was in this relationship that's a little creepy. But the biggest thing that you've probably heard about this movie is that they take that show don't tell. They show you stuff you don't want to see. I think it's perfect that it's on HBO, because again, you can like pause it or skip over the parts that you really like. You get the gist of it, and the fact that they show you, I get it, it's for that effect. But I highly recommend it. Just be careful with it, and don't ever watch it again after you watch it once, because it's gonna stick with you. It's gonna stick with you.
I love you.
If you like The Lobster, Relationtrip is probably your favorite movie of the year. I know a lot of people haven't heard about this. This is a delayed release as well, because I believe this came out a couple of months ago. I barely saw it, and pretty much it's this couple who aren't even a couple. They're just best friends, and they want to go on a road trip. And as they go on this road trip, you start realizing that the whole movie is a heightened version of a relationship if it was all taking place on a road trip that lasted like a week. But really what it's covering is like a 10-year relationship. Again, it's kind of like The Lobster, right? Like, you're watching them and you realize that as they get to this house, it's kind of like Mother, in where all that time that's lapsing is again like 7 years of these two getting to know each other, of them getting married, getting into their first fights, cheating, maybe divorce, splitting up, all these different things. And you quickly realize what's going on and how this movie is telling a very heightened reality type of tale when they peel their faces off. It's a wild movie. It's super inventive. It's super creative. There is a sock puppet, like this puppet that appears that's supposed to be like symbolic of their insecurities. To some people, it's going to be a little weird, but for those of you who want a different type of movie, for those, again, who like a movie like The Lobster and like seeing different metaphors and a different perspective to cover a relationship type of movie, this is yours.
It lives up to the hype, plus.
Fuck it, they probably won't even make a 3.
Yeah, why would they? Stop it, too. You killed it.
I like the first Deadpool more. I still think this one is hilarious. The cameo with the Vanisher, the whole backstory to it, how they just asked him to do it just to be there for like 4 or 5 seconds. Hilarious. I love it. I did some of the best after credits scenes that I've ever seen in my life. I personally think that it's getting to a point where it's breaking the fourth wall, which I know is the point, but it's getting a little cliche. Revenge is another one that I caught at the Chicago Critics Fest, and this one, I love the sound design in this. The sound design is one of the standouts. The color is one of the standouts. This is a movie where they don't really answer the why. It's more about the experience, because you got these group of guys who are going out into the desert to go hunting. The main dude brings his side piece with, and after a certain series of events, they end up like freaking just Sparta kicking her and she dies, but then comes back to life and seeks her revenge. The thing with it, of course, is the Jon Snow effect, right? Like, the moment you defy death, anytime we see you in a very deathly scenario, we've already seen you, like, come back to life. We know you're going to make it, but again, it's the experience of it. It's the sound design, it's the colors. I think it's fantastic, and I definitely think it's worth the watch, even if it doesn't answer how it's freaking possible. Yet again, another Chicago Critics one. The Guilty is probably one of the best of its type of movies, where it all takes place in one room, and this in particular all takes place in a dispatcher's dispatch. Like, this is a police officer who's been put to just do dispatch, and he gets a call from this woman who says she's getting kidnapped. So now he has to talk it all through with her and calm her down and realize what's happening with her kids back at home and realize what's happening with her husband. And at the same time, you realize he has his own backstory with something that he's dealing with. Again, it all takes place with this guy at the dispatch center. And, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the movie Locke, but this movie does like, if you like Locke, this movie goes above and beyond, and I think this movie did everything that I wanted Locke to be, but even more. The way that it plays with the sound design, and where, you know, everything gets muted in the background, and you don't realize it until, you know, you notice that they're really trying to focus in on what's happening in the phone call or with him, and then when things get disrupted, everything goes back like that. It's a fantastic movie. It has a wild ending, and I can't recommend it enough.
Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
So this was one of the ones that almost made it to my must-watch. So close to making it. It's a movie called First Reformed. It's this like religious movie that tells all the Pure Flix films and all like the atheist films that make fun of Christian films and goes, y'all need to step aside. Paul Schrader, the dude who made Taxi Driver, a bunch of classics, he comes in, takes Ethan Hawke, and tells a story with one of the craziest endings of the year. Ethan Hawke is pretty much this pastor for this very old church. He starts counseling a couple who are very pro-earth, and after an incident, he kind of gets involved in that cause, but maybe it's a little bit too much. And, you know, it's a very slow pace, which is why I know it's not going to be for everyone. But one of my favorite things about movies, even if it's a little too slow for you, or even if you don't like the outcome or whatever, the discussion that it spawns of not just your theory on the ending, but your interpretation of it, your interpretation of several things that happen throughout the movie, what you get out of it, and the specific intent that the director had with it. Yo, it's some deep stuff.
Let's do this.
Final one in this section is the Movie Pass distributed film, which is funny because you can't even catch it anywhere. I caught it at Sundance and at the Chicago Critics Film Festival. American Animals. This comes from the director of one of my favorite documentaries of all time, The Imposter. Definitely go check that out. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but highly recommend that movie. And this is him doing a half documentary, half narrative, of a true story of these dudes who decided to rob some art, some books from this library, and maybe things don't go their way. I think it's one of the most interesting movies of the year just because of the way that they tell the story of it being half documentary with interviews, and then the narrative with a really stacked cast, a bunch of dudes who I think are fantastic. I, however, do think that there's a little bit of a pacing stuff. Sometimes it relies a lot on the comedy, and then it gets very serious out of nowhere, and it goes from you saying, like the movie kind of tells you, yo, these guys, they're having a good old time. Aren't you having fun with them? No, they're bad people. However, it's still a very interesting true story to catch, and if you have a movie pass, you can catch it for free. Very quick, I always like to add some of the TV stuff. One of the TV stuff's actually my must watch, but some of the TV that I've been watching, like most of you, probably have Netflix and you're watching Netflix and you're like, there's like nothing. Then you realize you're also paying for like Hulu, HBO, and Showtime. Well, I caught up on Insecure on HBO, which is the show by Issa Rae, who is mad talented. It covers the black female experience in California. It was based off of a web series, and I binged the entire thing. I think it's fantastic. I love how she creates the show with characters, even with herself, where they make mistakes. You see them and you're on their side, then you're not on their side. You're seeing things from different perspectives. The ending of season 2, that finale is insane. Like, there's no explosions. This ain't an action series or anything like that, but it hits you super hard when two characters just look at each other and say one word and you go, whoa. This is like a bomb right here. 13 Reasons Why was also a bomb, but like in the complete opposite way. I have a whole video for that, so I'm just mentioning here to just plug the video again. You can go check that out. Evil Genius was the one on Netflix that I watched. It's a 4-part docu-series that tells the story of this pizza delivery guy who robbed the bank super nonchalantly, but he had like a bomb around his neck, and then it exploded. And that's just the first episode. The next 3 episodes get into the behind the scenes. Was it him? Was he responsible? Was he in on it? Who was in on it? It trails off a bit. What I think is most interesting about this is how it's the Duplass brothers who are producing this, and knowing that one of the Duplass brothers made Creep, I'm starting to wonder if he's just doing this for research for his next messed up role. On the complete opposite side is The Toys That Made Us. This is another Netflix docu-series about toys. I think it's super intriguing. This one's super relaxing. Season 2 just came up. I had binged all of season 1, seen a couple of season 2, and if this isn't on your radar, I would definitely toss it on there, because some of the toys I have a relationship with, right? Like, oh, I grew up with those toys. Others I don't, yet it's super intriguing to see the behind the scenes, the background, how those toys came to be, and it's really cool. And the final Netflix one that I have is Vox, who, they've taken that explain tag. They've been watching them YouTube videos. I've been following you guys. I've seen that you know how the explained tag gets those views, how it gets that, and I see your poster here. I see you, Vox. I see how you're playing. It's a good show. It's on Netflix. It's a bit different from what they have on YouTube, which is also good, but I'm gonna let them pass. I'm gonna let you pass, Vox. Finally, it's my must-watch. These are the movies. Maybe you just skipped to this. These are the 5, I'm actually counting 6 in this case, movies that I highly, highly recommend. Starting with Now, Tully is the story of a mother, played by Charlize Theron, who is convinced into getting a night nurse. And a night nurse is someone who comes in, because the mom is completely exhausted, the husband is too busy working, all this other stuff. So the night nanny comes in and pretty much just takes care of the kid. And as you see the trailer, you're like, there's like some mystical, magical stuff that seems to be going on here. This movie was released and got a bunch of controversy from a lot of moms who didn't see the movie, and others who did see it, but they did not agree with a specific turn that the last act takes. That's the reason why the movie is on my must watch. I think that the specific subject that this movie covers, and I don't want to spoil it, I just want to recommend it, in that third act is super powerful. I think when you watch the movie again and you pick up on a lot of different things on this subject that the movie is trying to display, I think it's one of the best out there. I don't think it's exploiting it. I truly think that seeing the writer's perspective, seeing Charlize Theron's own perspective of what she brings into the movie, like, they're not doing it from a third person's perspective. They're putting you in this character's mind and showing you how difficult it is to be a parent. And if the one thing that I would put against Tully is that sometimes it's a little too real. I am not a parent, but damn, that looks like a nightmare to take care of a kid, and all props to the mothers out there. 3 Identical Strangers is a documentary, and yes, I have 2 documentaries. I have 2 documentaries up on this must-watch list, and I'm not playing around when I tell you that these things are serious. I had missed this one at Sundance. Again, this was one that I hated that I had missed, but I caught it at the Chicago Critics Film Festival. Y'all need to have this on your list. It's the story of 3 identical twins who were raised separately, who by just chance find each other. And that's just the beginning. A lot of documentaries do that thing where you have a premise like this. You're like, whoa, that's super interesting. 3 brothers who are identical twins, triplets, they find each other and they come together. And you're like, wow, that's a really good 10 to 15 minute short. Then you still got like 90 minutes. This one, we don't play around. They give you that. Then at the 60-minute mark, they're like, oh, But look at this little piece of information. You're like, yo, this is a completely different story. Then right in the third act, they hit you with something else. You're like, yo, do I gotta do something about this? Am I a part of this? There are bombshells in this movie that will stick with you. Things that you're like, you will walk out of this theater wondering if you have an identical twin out there. I mean, like, I got some. He's famous, so we're cool. He just sends me the check on what we do. But it stays with you, and it makes you wonder. Like, I don't want to spoil the reveals in the third act, even though it is a true story. You can search it up yourself, but I definitely recommend watching this documentary because it's not only based off of an intriguing story, but the way that they tell it is superb.
There'll never be anybody for me but Jan. Never.
Abducted in Plain Sight is the other documentary that I have on this list, and you know it's messed up when the rapist in the story, of this true story, is the one who calls the mother to check up on the child. I don't even know how else to look. This is a real life story of this girl who got kidnapped multiple times. It is so wild how... Like, you would not believe this story is true. I really don't know how else to describe this other than you literally need to check this out. I have never seen a movie. I'm not kidding you with this. I don't care about hyping up a stuff for whatever. Like, this movie literally gave me a headache. This movie literally almost made me barf. That's how disgusting it is, because you see this as a fictional narrative, you ain't gonna believe it. The fact that these people said, yes, I'll be in this movie. Yes, you can tell my story. Oh, dumb. It's as dumb as the people in The Imposter. If you've seen that one, the one that I just recommended, this is even worse in some way. It's a true story of the wildest kidnapping story I have ever heard in my life.
I'm done, Fuchs. Starting now.
On a completely lighter, even though it's a violent series note, is the HBO series Barry, produced, starring, even directed some episodes, Bill Hader, even Haru Murai, for those of you who like Atlanta, for those of you who like the This Is America video, he directed some of these episodes here. Barry is a perfect season. Barry, to me, I hate the fact that I didn't watch it sooner, that I didn't recommend it to you guys sooner. You guys need to get HBO and watch this. This is my second favorite. Technically, it's third, but I tied the first two. It's a story of a hitman who starts becoming an actor, who then starts, like, becoming human. It is so intriguing. I'm gonna make a video on this thing. Like, season 2 is about to come up. I definitely have a lot to say in this for this one. So this is your heads up to start watching it. So when I make the video, we can have that discussion, because again, Barry season 1 is a perfect season about a hitman that hits, man.
When did you get Snapchat? What grade?
5th grade.
Fifth grade? What? Yo, see?
Now I'm gonna tie these two up, right? Because both of these are coming out in the summer, and usually I'm telling you about movies that come out, but I caught both of these again, saw them both at Sundance, saw them both again at the Critics Fest, and I just, like, literally want to tell you guys to put these on your radar. This is just foreshadowing for it. I'm gonna start with 8th grade because first time I saw 8th grade, I thought it was okay, right? I'd covered all of these in the Sundance video. The one on ATZ just covered my top 10, but I have a whole nother one that covered everything I saw at Sundance, so if you want to check that out. And the first time I saw 8th grade, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a good movie. Huge Bo Burnham fan, but I was like, okay, this is a very interesting perspective. I was never an 8th grade girl. Second time I saw it, this thing blew my mind. There is just a craft that he put into this of the perspective of an 8th grader. And specifically, believe it or not, but I'm already working on the video for it, the cringe is what makes it. Chicken Nugget Kid, who I've been tweeting about, you'll know when you see the movie. Chicken Nugget Kid is a standout. There's so much heart in this movie. The fact that it's not perfect is what makes it close to perfect, and I completely adored it the second time that I watched it. I had posted up, shout out to my boy, I think your name is Max. He was at the Chicago screening, and this kid, he watches the A to Z show. This kid he asked the best question out of all the adults that were out there at the screening. So shout out to him, and for those of you who love Bo Burnham or are excited for this movie, haven't seen it 2 times, this thing delivers. On the other side is my favorite movie of the year, and when I watch it again, I will make the same video just like I did for Brigsby Bear right there, because Sundance just tends to produce my favorite movies. It's not that I want my favorite movie to be from Sundance, it's just that I know that usually my favorite movie comes from Sundance. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. It's up there with Hereditary. I've been trying to decide between the two. I'm going to see Hereditary again, which again is another movie I recommend, but I've seen Searching twice. And if I were you, I would just go into this movie blank. Don't even watch the trailer. Just trust me. Know that the first 5 minutes of this movie is literally up. If a Google commercial was like telling it, it is all told through the computer, through a phone. It may seem gimmicky, and there are points where it is. You know, just because it's my favorite movie of the year doesn't mean I'm not going to admit to that. There is that. But it hit me just as hard the second time that I watched it. It hit me more. I actually have an interview with these dudes, the director and the producer. They're super chill dudes, and I have the exclusive scoop right here. I'm going to be dropping this on the Intercut podcast, where we're going to be putting the interviews over there. Go into this movie blank, experience it, adore it. For those of you who believe me with Brigsby Bear, I'm telling you this right now with Searching, it may be one of your favorites of the year, if not just a fantastic movie experience. But the beauty of it, and this is the exclusive, anyone else tells you otherwise or tries to take this, I'm the first one to tell you, when you watch this movie, it's gonna blow your mind. When you watch it again, you're gonna pick up on some things. My exclusive right here is that one of my favorite things in movies is Easter eggs. And one of the things that the producer told me was that as much as you love the movie and the more that you pick out things just for the main narrative, if you look close enough, there is an entire other movie going on in the background, in the emails, in the news clippings, in the articles, in the text messages, that not only changes the story, but adds a whole nother narrative, pretty much showing you that you gotta go with a magnifying glass and start searching while you're watching the movie Searching. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Again, a big shout out to you guys. Thank you for helping me reach 200,000 subscribers. You know, let me know down below. Just put A to Z reviews, because that was what the channel was originally called. Just put A to Z reviews, and then just let me know what your favorite video. What was the first A to Z video that you saw? I'm curious to know that. Maybe it was even a Let Me Explain video. I really can't say thank you enough other than continue grinding these videos. If I was sweating throughout the video, it's because it's super hot over here. I need to get LED lights. That's where the Patreon, all the funds from Patreon, it goes to getting other stuff. These light bulbs, they burn out all the time. It's like fixing screws. It's all the money goes into making these videos. It's truly a passion that I have, and it grows mainly because of you guys. Curious to know your guys' thoughts on these movies, ones you're looking forward to. Again, big shout out to the patrons for supporting and helping out this channel, which again, it's the A to Z show. It's Let Me Explain. It's Hear Me Out. Just trying to make as much content for you guys. Those of you guys who have been on and just supporting it, truly appreciate it. And you could do it all for $1, and I'll send you all my love.